Hi, my name is Lincoln Tracy, and I'm currently finishing up my degree in digital media at AB Tech. This is the video segment of my final systems project covering my brand overhaul and website redesign of local recording studio, Goodflow Productions.
For my project, I decided to go in a slightly different direction since due to current circumstances, distributing printed materials is a challenge and sort of an unnecessary risk. My presentation is an interactive one. A link back to this interactive presentation can be found at the bottom of the footer in the Goodflow Rebranding concept site, viewable at sandbox.pixelprawn.com. So who is Goodflow? Goodflow, formerly Goodflow Productions, is a recording studio in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. They record music for album production, provide audio engineering services, and provide teaching spaces for local teachers. Goodflow is owned and operated by Anthony Dorian, local musician, audio engineer, and live audio tech. Goodflow, still currently labeled as Productions here, doesn't really have solidified, consistent branding. While the website does contain some consistent stylistic and thematic elements, there aren't a lot of unifying design principles across the site. Goodflow's persona and core values can be described as a balance between a fun, inviting, friendly atmosphere and reflecting a quality of work that is very precision-focused and very professional grade. Their core values are artist-driven, expressive, technically savvy, technologically focused, experienced, and fun. Goodflow's target demographic for musicians can be described as fairly open. The studio isn't committing to making one genre of music by one style of artist. Presumably, a singer-songwriter or a small rock outfit would feel equally at home recording with Goodflow. 3 different types of customers that Goodflow is trying to pick up right now are recording musicians, people with already recorded audio that are looking for someone to mix, engineer, and master it, and local teachers that need an affordable space to teach music classes. While there are many different recording studios in the Asheville area, for the purpose of this report, I've outlined 3 that I feel represent some common trends that I'd like to embrace or avoid. Mystic Dome Studio, Landslide Studio, and Echo Mountain. A common trend that I noticed among many competitors, not just these 3, is a lack of human beings in their promotional materials. The space and the gear take center stage. Echo Mountain in particular feels almost devoid of life despite its very snazzy, modern-looking website. By comparison, Mystic Dome isn't afraid to show musicians making music, which makes their site feel more alive despite being somewhat more pedestrian in its presentation. I had a few goals in mind for Goodflow's rebrand project. First, I wanted a sharp, eye-catching aesthetic to bring together not just the website, but any new advertising materials that I made to create a consistent brand. Something fun and modern, but with hints of retro sensibilities. I wanted to reflect the fun, welcoming vibe that Goodflow is in real life and provides in its work and in its space. I wanted to use this new look to consolidate and solidify various elements on both the website and the advertising materials. There is still a big upcoming opportunity to use this rebranding and advertising to drum up significant new business. One of Anthony's musical projects, Downtown Abbey and the Echoes, will be performing this July at Floyd Fest after winning last year's On the Rise competition. Floyd Fest is not only a massive event to distribute these new materials, but a time when Anthony will be in direct contact with regional and national level musicians and industry officials. The goal is to have any new advertising materials printed and ready to distribute before Floyd Fest in late July. The first big target in the rebrand was the logo. I spent a lot of time working out concepts and tried many different approaches. This logo took a lot of consideration. How did I make the logo scream music and look modern and retro simultaneously? Weirdly enough, that's one of the things I thought the original logo was getting right on the old site. Early on in the process, I took a lot of inspiration from vinyl top labels from records in the 60s and 70s. I loved these bold yet faded oranges and yellows that I was seeing again and again. I loved how so much personality was packed into these stark, high-contrast scripts that had no need of effects or needless line work. I think my final logo hits this balance pretty well. It's distinctly musical, vibrant, and has an interesting balance between straight and swooping lines. It took a little tinkering to get just right, but the client and I are both happy with it. In the new logo variants section of the project presentation, you can see some variant logos that I made, which, despite only having 3 of them, they offer a pretty wide array of solutions to various background types and applications. After that, the process of coming up with business card concepts was relatively simple. I was basically just expanding on ideas I already had or had noticed in some of the vinyl tops that I was taking inspiration from. Again and again, I was seeing these sort of orange rainbow patterns, which I was enamored with at first, but after I was seeing them so much, it just felt a little bit cliche. I was also struggling with finding the right secondary text, header text, to use in this design. I stuck with Village for a while, but its legibility is really not great, and it was a little too novel. It felt a little silly almost compared to the sharp text around it. My second concept just gave me a lot of things that I wanted to avoid in the future. It was around now that I noticed the white text on the orange background looked a lot better to me than the black text on the orange background. Not the best use of the orange logo. This was maybe an argument to create a white variant, but it just didn't feel right. My final business card, I expanded on the idea of using these orange musical scripts. I came up with this sort of psychedelic head concept that I got from an album cover that I just found interesting. Putting the white text from the logo on the orange background was working pretty well. And I came up with this off-white, very light orange. Probably in an actual business card concept, I would just get off-white paper, but I wanted to sort of simplify that starkness with the white and push it down a little bit. The paisley pattern is something I thought worked well here and used at a couple other places, but it just didn't make it to the final web design. Another point is that around now I was really getting into this Schrickhind, I believe it's pronounced, font. It seemed like the perfect sort of semi-retro match to the other text from the logo that I was getting. I also solidified on Roboto for just the basic sans serif fonts that I was going to use for the website and the rest of the designs. They're common, they're easy to work with, but this Schrickhind font it hit me like a bolt of lightning. It was the perfect one to use for this design for me. And that carried over to my first advertisement, which was this postcard. The postcards are meant to be left on counters. Anthony works at a lot of bars and live music venues where a big stack of these can be left on a counter and get in the relative hands relatively easily. Going along with that idea, I decided for live music venues, a standard size 8.5 by 11 poster might be a good eye catcher, just something that can be hung on the wall and just be in front of the relevant eyes, so to speak. I had to be careful here not to pack too much into this rainbow. It was looking a little bit busy, still is, but I kind of like the rhythmic element going on here. I also wanted to use some of this blue versus orange complementary color contrast, and this later pops up in the web design, but this was the first time that I really used it for effect in just catching your eye from across the room was for this poster. My objectives for creating the website were relatively straightforward and simple. I just wanted to organize the content that existed better, since I didn't really need to add a whole lot. I did want to expand on the ability to add albums that the studio had finished producing. For this, I wanted to showcase these albums on their own specific single post pages, and I wanted to be able to integrate various streaming platforms, so if one artist is on Spotify and the next one isn't, they can still have a working streaming platform on their artist page. I also wanted to implement a blog for SEO optimization, just so those regular posts to the blog were sort of catching Google's eye, so to speak. And also, it seemed like a good place to sort of sell the level of expertise that the studio had of, oh, we give some of this information away for free, just sort of educating the public on how they can have an easier time in any recording studio. While the technical demands of GoodFlow's website are fairly minimal, there are a few select functionalities that we can use to breathe some modern life into what's already here. While the artist page does have completed albums from the studio with a title, album art, a short blurb, and a link to the artist, these have been expanded on in the new version. Here we have the new audio page with each of these albums that has been uploaded. These are uploaded as a custom post type with an album artist, title, year, short description, cover art, a link to support the artist, and an embed code. The directions for the embed vary depending on the platform, and unfortunately these values have to be edited in manually for the height and width, just because of how the different embed codes come in from the different platforms. This parses out to a single post page where the information is displayed like this. Again, this streaming platform over here to the right is flexible. If we go to an album that uses something other than SoundCloud, we can get Spotify and Bandcamp. Testimonials were something that I wanted to add just because it's a little bit of flair for the home page. It's nice to see the nice words said by the completed album creators. And these are also added in not with a custom post type, but with custom fields for the home page, since they just appear there. This is achieved by just adding in the relevant info. All of it is required. And how I got these word bubbles to display is actually by hiding a map marker behind a div, which I thought was an interesting solution to that problem. The development requirements for this project were also relatively light. I used WordPress as a platform and Oxygen Builder to build up a theme and keep my layout organized. Advanced custom fields and custom post type UI were used in tandem to create and post custom content such as albums. SVG support was utilized to quicken load times and keep artwork looking good at various screen sizes. Contact Form 7 was used to create a modest but well-working contact form on the contact page that allows a user to select a reason for contact, post a message, name, email, and an optional phone number, which will come through on the server end, styled and containing the relevant information. The materials I had developed by the start of the website were striking a balance of clean, professional-looking elements mixed with bright, funky, inviting orange tones. I wanted to give the website a touch of atmosphere reminiscent of a rock show at a clean, modern venue with hints of smoke and lights. I wanted to further develop and refine this balance of professional and energetic atmosphere into a new website and brand identity. I think this balance communicates how the business operates, a fun atmosphere with professional craftsmanship. I also wanted to be sure to include a human element, but focus more on the music creation than the rock stars, hence the header imagery with hands and instruments, but no faces. It was noticeable on other studio sites that the focus was more on the gear and not the human beings, which was a design decision that I previously had said I didn't want to stick with. Largely, the goal of the website is to get users and potential clients to visit the contact page and fill out a form. One strategy utilized here is to include links to an FAQ section on many other pages. The goal of the FAQ section is to pump the user up and let them know you probably have this together more so than you think. It's not expensive to record at GoodFlow, it doesn't take too long, scheduling is flexible, and GoodFlow offers other services that can help the artist develop their product and finalize their album. Finally, at the end of the FAQ, you have a link back to the contact page, which, again, the goal of the website is to get people to this contact page to fill out a form and request service of some kind. I had a few takeaways from this project as a designer and developer. Firstly, Oxygen Builder was not only fun to use, but it kept my project very easy to organize. My initial experience with Builder themes a few years ago was a mixed bag. This was the first Builder theme I've used that didn't make me feel as though it was obfuscating the low-level functionalities of WordPress theme development. This project in all its facets really pushed my organizational skills simply because of the sheer amount of different documents, media types, and workflows encompassed by the whole process.
Flow Productions. Thank you for taking the time to check out my presentation. To view the website or the interactive portion of this presentation, or to get in touch, please follow the links in the description or visit my portfolio website, www.tracydev.com. Thank you.